One day I started fooling around with a small DOS software package, which my secretary showed me back in the days when we had secretaries. And she showed me how to use this little DOS process, and I started putting in information in there about people that were making changes and some business information and so forth. And I started showing it to my clients, and they would say, "God, this is great. Do you know anybody who's doing such and such?" Or I'm looking for a controller, or whatever, right? And that would spur me on. I mean, this was way back in the early days of the Apple IIc. I was just sitting at home at night, after work, putting stuff in because it was fun for me to do. It was really an avocation. I think my grandmother was a world-class stamp collector, so it's probably in my genes and my DNA, right? So people love what I'm doing, and I figured early on that nobody was, Silicon Valley is very transactional. You do a deal, and you put it in a drawer, and you forget about it. And so I realized that the collection of all this material, connecting all the dots, was something that would be valuable. And it's something that I was just having fun doing. So I started doing this as strictly as an avocation. And then as a business model, it just evolved because I realized if I wanted to do something with it and be able to create more links and a little more scale, that I needed to start charging for it. And actually what happened was somebody contacted me from Europe and wanted to know if he could buy it. And so I said, okay, I guess I'll create an invoice and do it. That's actually what happened. Living in Silicon Valley and staying relevant. I mean, this environment is so rich with information and interesting people from around the world, like yourself, and so many people coming from abroad. This is a melting pot, and I'm a native. I was born here. I was born in San Mateo, and I've watched this whole area just completely change over in a good way with incredible people. So just being part of that. So what excites me, of course, is finding something that looks like a diamond in the rough. It's a gem. It's interesting, and then marking them down and seeing how they go. And there are so many little companies, but of course we have a lot of early stage fundings as well. So all aspects of the data. And of course, as I revisit and see people that I put somewhere only a year ago and now they've moved, it makes my mind wonder, did they make the right move? Is it for all the right reasons? I'm curious why they've made the move. So I kind of follow that a little bit. So Silicon Valley is probably leading the way in this country right now in whatever kind of recovery we're having, because Silicon Valley people are entrepreneurs and they're tired of being down. They're just not going to stand for it, and they're going to take a risk where somebody else may not take a risk, and these risks are going to pay off for some companies. So our challenge from the very beginning was can we put it in a sense that makes it interesting, and can we save people time, energy, and money? The other was, if I want to make a business out of it, how do I go get customers? And just the agony of trying to figure out, it was great for free, but will people pay? And so what all businesses have to do is you've got to go out and talk to potential customers. And the problem I think a lot of companies get into is because they gave it for free, or because in a beta or an alpha they gave it on a discounted basis, the real issue is who's going to pay for it at full price? And how can you leverage that customer because they're so excited about what you did for them to want to help you with other customers? I would say because I'm a small company and don't have a lot of people issues, I didn't have a lot of mistakes that I would normally make, like promising the world to somebody and getting involved and getting overexcited. But I would say this: it's a little bit of a lonely road when you're an entrepreneur because you are an evangelist for your own idea, and along the way you get very excited when people appreciate what you're doing, have some relevance to what you're doing, and so I think entrepreneurs may be quick to pull the trigger on trying to draw somebody from these outer rings into your company on the mere fact they love what you were doing and they had some background, and you might not have done the kind of sourcing and reference checking and all the things that you might normally do if you were running a unit of a larger company. I think companies oversell themselves, not because they're trying to, but because they're so zealous in the nature of what they're doing, and their passion comes out. People always tell me, "God, Bob, you're so passionate." Well, if I'm not, I better get out of the business, right? But I think all these young entrepreneurs, I should take out the word young. I think all entrepreneurs, if they're not passionate about what they're doing, get out, go do something else. And because they're passionate, what they're doing is infectious in conversation, and that leads to getting involved with people. And it could be not just that, but it may be jumping into an alliance or a partnership, or maybe the wrong kind of a customer. I mean, you tend to jump at things because it's in your opportunity. First of all, to be an entrepreneur, you have to have a lot of guts. You have to have a really good idea, and you got to vet that idea. So at the end of the day, it's how you comport yourself. Are you professional? Do you treat people well? Do you have a high degree of integrity? These things are really, really important. Your reputation follows you everywhere. Much like what I do at LinkSV, I track all these people, and you can spot real long-term people. You certainly have to have an inquisitive nature about you. So you have to think that you have enough confidence in yourself, self-confidence, to be able to do something really, really well and really different. Character. I think you have to be somewhat charismatic because people have to like you. If people like you, they're going to want to work with you. You have to be likable. You have to want to take the challenge on. But again, you got to get the I word out of this, because to be a leader, it isn't all about you. It's all about people that you're entrusting and getting involved, and it's a team environment. Well, the one that pops to the top of my mind is that they think they have the world's greatest new invention of the toaster or whatever, and they forget to realize that this stuff is already in development. So you really have to be aware of the marketplace, and you have to figure out why you're different, and you don't have to capture the entire market. If you could do one thing and do it really, really well, and get customers to appreciate what you're doing really, really well, that's it. I'd say for my success is I'm most proud of the fact that I had the stay with mentality of finding a project I really liked and wanting to do a really good job. And my wife is continuously amazed, because she's a Stanford PhD, and I was not a very good student. And she said to me, when you were a student, if you would have applied yourself the way you're approaching what you're doing now, you could have also been a PhD. And this goes on all the time. So I think that I've stayed with the project and have been find more and more joy every day in what I'm doing with it. Well, you better take stock of who you are. You better take stock of your personal relationship. Could your spouse or girlfriend or boyfriend handle this? Do you have some money in the bank that when things don't work out, in other words, it's not how you feel the first day. How are you going to feel when you're 6 months into something, you have 20% of the cash left that you had, dry powder. You've been getting a no left and right. You better think ahead to that, project yourself to that environment. You can also project yourself, by the way, to success, because you want to do that. But you also have to recognize, how do I want to operate in that environment? Do I want to stay with that? Because you have to re-engage and decide what you're going to go do. And it's very important early on, by the way, to not just stick with the first three things you think you want to go do, because in those three things you're going to do, you're going to learn a lot. Your business model is going to change every day. Your most important things to do today list is going to change, because as you meet people, you're hoping to meet 2 more really interesting people, or 2 more interesting customers, or 2 more betas, or whatever. So it's evolving, it's morphing all the time. And if you find that it's not morphing, it's not changing, and it's not moving out, you step back and recognize, maybe this is not a good move for me. And it's okay to start something without pulling the entire trigger. You could incorporate. You could have a nice relationship with one good friend that you're starting, that you're both keep your day job, if you will, and doing something, and not do the business. In other words, it's evolved. The whole thing evolved, and at some point in time, you go, you know what? This is a go deal. We've got it. We're engaging. People like what we're doing. They're encouraging us to do it, and we've got to take that first big step. So I mean, that's kind of a process. For everybody, it's family. I mean, when I have two great kids who are doing their own thing and grandchildren, and been married for 44 years, by the way, that's probably my crowning achievement. But LinkSV is clearly something that I've had so much passion about. Yeah. Maybe probably not doing this earlier on. Maybe taking a step out earlier. Time, energy, and money. Think of everything you're going to do as a factor of time, energy, and money. God, I don't even go there. I don't have something that comes to my mind. Well, my favorite place is right here, because everybody drives up here and brings me a Togo sandwich. It doesn't have to be Togo, it generally is, because it's right on the bottom of my hill, and I serve the tea. So, yeah. Probably have a little cup of tea late in the evening, or a dish of ice cream, and polish off a little publishing while I'm watching Jay Leno or something like that, and my eyes start to close, and it's time to go to bed. Yeah. I think it's just the continual run of seeing my kids being so happy. Yeah.